Speak, O Lord, as we come to you to receive the food of your holy word. Take your truth planted deep in us, shape and fashion us in your likeness, that the light of Christ might be seen today in our acts of love and our deeds of faith. Speak, O Lord, and fulfill in us all your purposes for your glory. Teach us, Lord, full obedience, holy reverence, true humility. Test our thoughts and our attitudes in the radiance of your purity. Cause our faith to rise, cause our eyes to see your majestic love and authority. Words of power that can never fail. Let the truth prevail over unbelief. Speak, O Lord, and renew our minds. Help us cross the heights of your plans for us. Truths unchanged from the dawn of time that will echo down through eternity. And by grace we'll stand on your promises, and by faith we'll walk as you walk with us. Speak, O Lord, till your church is built and the earth is filled with your glory. By grace we'll stand on your promises, and by faith we'll walk as you walk with us. Speak, O Lord, and your church is built and the earth is filled with your glory.
Would you like to be seated? I have twice helped a sheep whilst out walking in the hills with my brother. On one occasion, a sheep had fallen on its side, the wrong way round, if you like, so its feet were up the hill and its body was down the hill, and it couldn't get up. And we actually thought it might be dead. But as we approached it, we realised it wasn't, so we were able to gently lift the sheep upwards, and then it ran off, which was great. On the other occasion, a couple of sheep had got their heads caught in the perimeter fence trying to get to the grass outside it. When we approached, one of them managed to free itself, but the other one really was stuck. And was trying to fight me as I tried to help it out. I did eventually manage to get its head free, and it ran off again. No bleat of thanks, I'd like to point out. But you see, they didn't recognise that actually I was coming to help them because I was unknown to them. They couldn't distinguish a helping hand from a threatening one because they didn't know my voice. And as Debs has suggested, when the Bible likens us to sheep, it's not necessarily a compliment. Sheep wander off into dangerous situations. They get lost. They are obsessed with trying to break through the boundaries that keep them safe. It takes years to train a flock of sheep to stay within safe boundaries. And we've already heard what a good shepherd will therefore do to look after their sheep, or at least some of those things. Now, in Britain, green grass is abundant, isn't it? And sheep can be left in the same field for a week, maybe two, depending on the size of the flock and the field. But in Israel, in Jesus' day, most shepherds did not benefit from the luxury of abundant grass for their sheep. This next picture is what's called green pastures in Israel. Doesn't look very green, does it? There's not a lot of grass. There's enough grass there for today. But tomorrow, the shepherd must lead them to new green pastures. The other significant difference is that farmers here tend to drive their sheep from behind, using dogs or quad bikes to direct them in the right direction. But in Israel, the practice was to walk ahead of the sheep and call them to follow. So it was really important that the sheep got to know and trust the shepherd's voice. However much I was being nice to the sheep I helped, and however kindly I spoke to them, their instinct was to run away from me because my voice was unknown to them. And actually, we do the same with God, don't we? Because we humans are naturally sinful and fear God's reaction to our sin, our natural instinct is to run away and to hide from God. Think about Adam and Eve and what they did as soon as they'd eaten from that tree of the knowledge of good and evil. What did they do? They ran away and hid. And that's our natural instinct. But we actually need to do exactly the opposite. We need to learn to recognize God's voice so well through reading his word, through listening to his Holy Spirit prompting us, that we run towards him and away from the voices that compete with his for our attention. For the voices around us that seek to give us messages that are contrary to God's message of love are many and loud, aren't they? They might be our friends, our colleagues, even our bosses seeking to persuade us to do something that we know is wrong. They might be the media or politicians pushing a popular agenda that stands opposed to the Bible's teaching. There might be advertisers selling us the lie that we cannot be happy without this product or that experience. They might be the constant critical voice of someone in the past or the present telling us we're no good. The voice which feeds our own self-loathing. They might be the voice of doubt that tells us if we publicly own our faith in Jesus, people will ridicule us and reject us. They might be the voice of Satan and his demons tempting us to sin, and then, if we fall into his trap, telling us the lie that there's no hope of forgiveness now that we have sinned. These voices are some of the wolves that seek to attack and destroy the flock. And that's why it's so important that we spend time daily with God, reading his word, praying, so that we can begin to let Jesus' good shepherding voice drown out the noise of the wolves around us. For Jesus wants to give us life in all its fullness. Life in all its fullness. Is that what you want? And Jesus was so passionate that we should have life in all its fullness that he took on the wolves so as to protect us. He saw the wolves attacking his flock, people like you and me, and whom God has made, and he took the decisive action to fight back against them, so they would no longer succeed in attacking us. How did he do that? Well, by standing in the way of their vicious attacks and forcing them to attack him instead of us. And they did attack him, didn't they? In fact, they killed him, nailing him to a cross. As he said he would, he laid down his life for his sheep. That's how much God loves us. Jesus freely laid down his life for his sheep. But in doing so, he completely disarmed the wolves of evil, of all that could truly harm us. If you like, he broke off their teeth and their claws. They can still yap away and try to convince us they still have power to harm us, but they cannot destroy us if we keep our eyes focused on Jesus and on his words to us, because he has defeated them. You're allowed to be excited about that. He has defeated them. Colossians 2:15 says, and having disarmed the powers and authorities, that's any power, any voice which stands opposed to God, having disarmed the powers and authorities, he made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them by the cross. It's already happened. They're already defeated. We don't have to believe any of the lies of the voices we hear around us that seek to steal, kill, and destroy our joy in Jesus and our effectiveness in his kingdom. We can learn instead to recognize the life-giving voice of the Good Shepherd Jesus and to trust and follow his voice. And as Debs has said, that takes effort. It takes time getting to know him, to unlearn our previous beliefs about God and about ourselves, and to truly learn that what Jesus says about us is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. It takes time to truly believe that following God's way really is the best way to live our lives. But Jesus laid down his life for his sheep so that we could know and experience these truths for ourselves every day, forever. Jesus said, I am the good shepherd who lays down his life for the sheep. I know my sheep, and they know me. Effectively, he said, I go ahead of them, and the sheep follow me because they know my voice. I have come in order that you may have life, life in all its fullness. Life lived under his care, his protection, his boundaries, his goodness. Like the best of mothers, he shepherds us. And we just have to say, yes, please, Jesus, be my good shepherd. And he will. Isn't that simple? Isn't it beautiful? We're going to pray now using the two sheets that you were given, hopefully, when you came in. If you weren't, there are some still at the back. So come and grab them. We're going to start by using the sheet with lots of sheep on it and a sheepfold that you see in front of you on the screen. It's a little bit, I was hoping that would come out a bit bigger than that. So you might need to go and get a sheet if you want to see this. And you can talk about this in groups before you pray, or in families if you like. But this is a prayer activity to allow us to ask ourselves which sheep, or perhaps even which person, do I feel most like in the picture? Let me talk you through them in a minute, but even better, take some time to ask God to reveal to you which sheep or person you are most like at the moment. And then I want you also to identify which sheep you want to be like. Okay? So which sheep you are most like at the moment, or feel most like at the moment, and which sheep you want to be like. But let me talk you through. So you might be like the sheep in the middle in the sheepfold, who are safe there, being looked after by the shepherd. You can't really see them, but they're kind of around behind the trees if you're looking on the PowerPoint. The sheep in the sheepfold, nice and safe. They hear the shepherd's voice, they follow him when he calls them to step out and when he calls them to rest safely in his care. You might feel like the sheep in the bottom right-hand corner of the picture, who are also safe under the care of the shepherd, but are at this moment enjoying really good, refreshing drink in the river. And maybe right now you need your faith refreshed, or maybe you are experiencing a wonderful time of refreshment in your faith. But there are other sheep in this picture too. You might feel like the sheep on the bottom left, who feels all alone and is terrified by the wolf he's coming across. Maybe there's a voice in your head that feels like it is so overwhelming that God's voice can't get through. Maybe you're feeling under attack in your faith. Or you might feel like the sheep at the top left-hand corner, which you almost certainly can't see, hiding behind the rocks, who has wandered away from the shepherds and their safe sheepfold and has got lost. Maybe you don't know how to get back to the fold, and you need Jesus to come and find you and carry you back. Or you might be like the group of sheep on the top right-hand corner of the picture, who have no idea that they are in danger from a robber hiding behind the sheepfold. They think they are free because they're not trapped by the sheepfold having to do what the shepherd says, but they don't realize that the shepherd's rules are good and the sheepfold is necessary to protect their lives. Or maybe you're not like any of the sheep, you're like the hired hand running away on the left-hand side of the picture. You're supposed to be looking after the sheep who you've been given to care for, but you've stopped wanting to for some reason. Or maybe you're a shepherd, a good shepherd, working under the true good shepherd, Jesus, to care for those whom God has given you to care for. And actually, what you need to hear today is his pleasure that you're doing the job he's asked you to do. So just take some time to discuss with those around you, which sheep or person are you most like? And which sheep or person do you want to be most like? Which might be the same thing, by the way. Take some time, and then what I want you to do is pray for God to help you to be or to continue to be like the sheep or person you want to be like. Okay, does that make sense? I'll give you a couple of minutes just to do that. If you can't see and you want to come closer to see the one on the big screen or the one on the back, then feel free to do so, if you haven't got a sheet. I encourage you to move towards praying to God to help you to be like the sheep or person you most want to be like in the picture. Let me encourage you to draw your prayers to a close. And what you're going to need now is your second sheet, which should only have one sheep on it, a big sheep. And what we're going to do now is we're going to pray for other people. Again, you can share a sheet as a family, if you like. Our names are really important, aren't they? And we've heard already that God knows us by name, and exactly, not just our name, but so much about us, more than we know even about ourselves. So we're going to use this sheet. Write the name of anyone that you know of who is in particular need at this time of Jesus' shepherding care. Write it in your sheet. If you don't know their name personally, but you know you can write something to identify who you want to pray for, that's okay as well. So that could be people who are hurting, or suffering in wars or poverty, or grieving, or sick, or in need of knowing Jesus, or needing reassurance in their faith, or facing a big decision that needs God's guidance. Whatever comes to mind, but write the names of the people you want to pray for inside your sheet, and then together pray for them. And if you haven't got a pen, just think about who you want to pray for and pray for them. We encourage you to be bringing your prayers to a close, but you might want to take those sheep home with you and add to them during the week, and maybe put them up on your fridge or something so that you can remember to pray for them during the week as well. We're going to close with one last song, so if the band can come back up. This is a song about our living hope, and that's good news, isn't it? So feel free to use your instruments again, and I'll hand back over.
I think it's probably worth saying again, one of the characteristics that has been brought out today being that he laid down his life for his sheep, which is us. And this last song is here to help us to think about that as we go away, and to take it away with us, and the knowledge that that gives us a safety and a security in this act of love that he gave to us, his own life.